Arshi, I have 2-3 minutes for you, if you can come.
When I was walking in today, I noticed the picture, and it actually reminded me of the first time I saw Raza uncle. And you know, I've been somebody always who's been driven by her instincts. Any decision, large or small, it's just been very instinctive, which has caused my parents a lot of dismay over the years. But part of their influence is that I've often reassessed my instincts as time goes on to make sure that I'm on track. And the first time I met Raza uncle, I didn't know anything about him, and I just really, really liked him. I didn't know why. I talked to him for maybe 5-10 minutes, and I remember going back in the car with my father, asking him all sorts of questions because he had made such an impression on me. As over the years, as I got to know him better, that first instinct was only reinforced. He was an amazing role model for a lot of us growing up, especially now, today, in this day and age, where every association with Muslims is often a negative one. With him, he lived his integrity and his life with such passion and commitment that you couldn't help but deny what a truly amazing person he was. He was also the person who helped get me a little bit more involved with the scholarship program. And I knew every time that I gave, I always felt good about giving money just because I knew it was going somewhere, it would be used well because it was something that he was working on. And I would also say that a lot has been talked about in terms of the scholarship program today. But I always also liked the fact that it was Raza uncle, but it was also Shakila auntie, that they were a team, the way they did everything. So there was always something that she was involved with, or she always added her own insight. And the last thing I'll start closing with this is that two things. One is that in terms of epitomizing the whole Islamic concept of associating yourself with the highest caliber of people, he was somebody that always inspired. And I remember, this is a small example, but it really actually had an impact on me. He was very sick, and my parents had to get a dinner party, and he showed up, and I was really surprised. And he was sitting in the corner, and I could tell he, you know, I have problems when I have a cold and I'm complaining, but he wasn't talking about his health. He was enjoying himself. You could also tell that the reason he was there was that he really also wanted to come with Shakila auntie and let her, she had been spending a lot of time at the hospital, and just really have her be able to have a social and a good time. And that just spoke volumes to me in the sense that it wasn't just the big things, but it was also the little things where he lived a life where he was really committed to those he loved. I was in France last week, actually, and you know, when you're in foreign countries, you spend time looking at historical places, which we usually are about two things. One, people trying to find some sort of meaning in their life, or trying to leave a legacy. So I was in Versailles, and they have these amazing gardens there. You can walk for 3-4 hours, and they're beautiful. It was actually the highlight of my trip. And I was telling somebody that the day after dinner, and this Frenchman, he told me, he said, oh, well, you know, there was this, you probably saw it the same way that Marie Antoinette saw it, because two or 3 years ago, there was this huge storm, where all the trees were uprooted. And these are trees that were centuries old, but they were uprooted, so they had to replant everything. And I thought about that in terms of how, in so many ways, we try to leave our mark, or we try to find meaning. And with Raza uncle, it wasn't about, it was about the things he did, the way he lived his life, and his commitment to those around him. And that's something that no force of nature can ever alter. So I think that, you know, tonight is a testament of the lives he touched, and this is just a fraction, just because I know, based on his work on the scholarship program alone, he was able to really make a better life for a lot of people.
When I met Ahmad Raza first time also, I remember very well Kashmiri Saab ke ghar, and he really felt like a fresh air, breath of fresh air. And I still remember him the same way, I think. My first child, when she was born, we named her Zainab. And I think many of you know my daughter Zainab, which means the pride of her father and also means the apple of the father's eye. I think सीमी का नाम भी ज़ैनब होना चाहिए था. सीमी ने जिस तरह अपने बाप के लिए एक बेटी के फ़र्ज़, मोहब्बत, एडमिरेशन, खिदमत और इसार, डिवोशन एंड केयरिंग और उनकी मिसाल बनने में जो स्टैंडर्ड कायम किया है, उस तक पहुंचना शायद किसी भी बेटी के लिए नामुमकिन ही होगा. सीमी में अहमद रज़ा साहब की बहुत सी खूबियाँ हैं और जो कुछ बाकी हैं वो शायद उम्र के साथ आ जाएंगी. She is really a role model for many of the young girls, as somebody else had mentioned just now. Simi is Ahmad Raza in persona. She will now come and read a letter from her puppo. I think Simi said. Simi.
Sorry. Okay. I didn't trust myself to say something, so I chose to read a very sweet letter written by Abu's sister, Munni. And this is in Urdu. So for those who don't understand, I apologize. The translation is in the book. Ahmad Raza मेरा भाई. मेरा भाई मुझसे सिर्फ 2 बरस बड़ा था. छोटी बहन बहुत छोटी थी, इस वजह से हम और भैया बहुत खेला करते थे. हम सब 9 भाई बहन थे. हम सब बहुत शोर करने वाले, बहुत बहस करने वाले. उसमें एक भैया खामोश मिजाज के, आहिस्ता बोलने वाले. चूँकि हम लोग की अम्मा का इंतकाल हो गया था, इस वजह से घर में एक हंगामे की सूरत रहती थी. मेहदी बाई मेरी चोटी किसी चीज से बांधकर बाहर चला जाया करते थे. मैं रोने लगती. भैया खामोशी से उठते, चोटी खोलते, मुझे चुप कराते और टॉफी पकड़ाते. रोने लगती. इस काम के वास्ते टॉफी उनकी जेब में हमेशा रहती. इस तरह हम सब लड़ झगड़ कर बड़े हुए और ज़माने की गिरफ्त ने हम सबको एक दूसरे से दूर कर दिया. भैया बहुत सादगी पसंद थे. उनका पसंदीदा कपड़ा शफाफ पजामा कुर्ता होता और पसंदीदा खाना अरहर की दाल पतली, नया चावल और हरे धनिए की चटनी, टिक्का कबाब और चने का हलवा, जिसकी तरकीब बार बार अमेरिका में भी रह के पूछते. मेरी ख्वाहिश यही रहती कि जब भी मेरा भाई हिंदुस्तान आए, मैं उनकी पसंद का खाना अपने हाथ से पका कर खिलाती. हमें खिलाने में मज़ा आता और उनको खाने में. वैसे मुझे खाने पकाने का कतई शौक नहीं था, मगर मैं अपने हाथों से पका कर खिलाती. मगर अब कहाँ ढूंढूं, अब किसे खिलाऊं? मेरा भाई एक मोमिन इंसान था. वो मोमिन की जिंदगी जिया और मोमिन की तरह मरा. आज मैं गाजीपुर में जहाँ रहती हूँ, वहाँ मेरा और हम सब का बचपन गुजरा है. आज मैं हर तरफ अपने भाई की तलाश करती हूँ. वहाँ किताबें पढ़ना और वहाँ खरबूजे के बीज खाना और चारों तरफ बीज का हल्का पड़ा हुआ है. तिलस्म होशरुबा और इब्ने सफ़ी की जासूसी दुनिया उनकी पसंदीदा किताबें थीं. और भाई की देखा देखी में मैं भी किताब पढ़ने की बहुत शौकीन हो गई. आज मैं बूढ़ी तन्हा यहाँ साल से इंतज़ार कर रही थी. अब ये इंतज़ार भी ख़त्म हो गया. ऐसे कहाँ से लाऊं कि तुझसा कहूँ जिसे मेरा भाई, तुम्हारी छोटी बहन मुन्नी. I hope this would give you an idea of how they grew up and what a family this was.
ज़त लाज़िम है मगर गम है क़यामत का फराज, ज़ालिम अब के भला रोएगा तो मर जाएगा. Singing just presented a very emotional thing, and I think all of you were crying probably.